guys, I thought it would be good to finally talk about something going on with TCGplayer and maybe some workarounds that might work for you guys if you guys are still looking for singles. So without further ado, let's dive in the video and talk about it. So if you guys don't know, TCGplayer's unions rally after business relocates 220 employees put on notice. So if you guys don't know, what happened was basically after unionization got passed, eBay, who owns TCGplayer now, decided that, yeah, we don't want your union, so we're closing down this location, trying to get out of the unionization and basically stop them from having a union because they went, they passed it all. See, this is why. It's eBay. Stop union busting, negotiate with your workers now. So TCGplayer's employees and union leaders rally in front of the warehouse in downtown Sycamore on Tuesday's evening. So the following TCGplayer announcement last week that the company would close in Sycamore warehouse and move to Louisiana, Kentucky, employees found out that they were getting laid off right around the time the rest of the community did. This came as a surprise to workers after promises that this would not happen. Around 220 employees are being let go. The crowd at the rally was full of emotional with employees and union leaders. People in the crowd explained how people at work feel more like a family and they are sad that they had to let it go. Worked at TCGplayer for 4 years and said he enjoyed coming to work every day. To lose that, it hurts more than I can fathom. You got news coming. The news comes 2 years after TCG was acquired by eBay. CWA Local 112 was the first union at the e-commerce giant. People in the crowd today believe that the layoffs had to do with the unionization, which contradicts what TCGplayer has said to them. That is nothing to do with the union. Employees don't believe them. So to be honest with you, this is most likely that's what's coming from it. You know, they claim financial reasons, and we claim the unwillingness to bargain in good faith to provide a union contract for the folks. So, yeah, same thing here. You know, layoffs, accusation of union busting rises. You know, job cuts often follow a major acquisition. While sometimes they are immediate, other times it takes time to play out. eBay's TCG is now facing layoffs after the company made $2.85 million acquisition of the online card trading market back in 2022. The eBay job cuts in 2025 will affect 220 workers as a result of the company's decision to move its operation away from the authentication center in Sycamore, New York, to Louisiana, in Kentucky, basically. For every report, the job cuts will not affect remote Sycamore employees, but will have a head count of those remote workers. They do not have that. And an official closing date of 2025 has been set for the transition. eBay warehouse layoffs have sparked a storm of outrage as the unionization workers claim that it's a clear attempt at union busting, relocating jobs to a region where the company will no longer face union demands. The TCGplayer staff fired in the sudden move claim that the company has invested in multiple attempts to hold off on setting out the terms of collective bargaining contracts with the workers, who have backed by the communication workers of the American Union. With eBay closing TCG Sycamore location, all claims of unfair labor practice could now go away. eBay has denied all allocations, stalling negotiations. So yeah, eBay has stopped trying to negotiate, and they went like, you know what, we're not going to try to make it so players can, save money or anything like that. We're just going to make it so, not players, but you know what I mean. Workers can actually have good wages, a good job security, a good pension, everything like that, because unionization is a great thing for a lot of people, but eBay, is notoriously scummy. You can even look at eBay now and, it's known as FeeBay for a reason. This thing is just loaded up with fees, wants the most, money for what they can get for so little, just how they operate. This is just constant problems with eBay. So things like this, I really think that You know, TCG Player and eBay hit by boycott after closing grading center. So the grading center was basically a concept of making sure that your cards that you paid for direct, which doesn't actually affect Digimon, you know, the lower TCGs. The only ones that it kind of affected was, you know, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, and, you know, Magic. They all had direct, which basically brought everything to the direct, and boom, we're in a good spot. You know, TCG eBay hits by the boycott after closing grading center. You know, it seems that the situation at TCG is going from bad to worse after being acquired by eBay in 2022, winning the vote to unionize in 2023. TCG Player Authentic is in Sycamore was shut down with 220 employees laid off. The TCG union, you know, Local 123 claims eBay shut down this office down suddenly in an attempt to curb the unionization, which kind of seems like what eBay would do. The CWA has said that this is an attempt to evade its bargaining obligations and keep the company non-unionized, which makes completely sense. You know, TCG Union is calling for boycott of TCG Player. We're calling for a boycott of TCG Player to demand that eBay keeps the authentication center open and keeps 200 unionization jobs in Sycamore. So said a post on the Blue Sky account, TCG enthusiasts, don't buy your card from a TCG Player. That is a problem for, you know, I'm going to be straight honest with you, is a challenge for a lot of players across the world. Well, in the United States in general. eBay announcing they're shutting down the Sycamore Authentication Center to crush the union, putting all of us out of a job, continues the thread. We're calling out our community to stop purchasing from TCG until they agree to keep Authentication Center open. The union is asking fans to switch to a local retail shops. The union made Card Kingdom or peer-to-peer method versus social media to purchase TCG cards to show support for the boycott. I'm gonna say this right now, do what you need to do. It is a challenge to get cards sometimes. You know, this, like if I go to Magic and I want, let's say, Takir Dragonstorm, shop singles. We click Ugin. It's got direct. This is where the warehouse is generalized. So this little blue lightning bolt means the card that is getting shipped is shipped to the direct area, which is this sorting facility for Sycamore, New York. So that's where the money goes to more heavily there, but that's where they all work. So they're going to be, you know, if you stop doing that, that'll help out. But remember, Digimon doesn't really have that luxury. We don't have direct. So if I wanted to buy Boulder Arm, let's say, we don't ever have direct. But as you can see, we have all these huge inventory based stuff. We have, you know, cards that are coming from just local players. Like this guy here, UCAS, is most likely a backpack seller. They don't have much other options to kind of just sell these cards. You know, Nerd Dad Empires, they're just probably a local shop. Let's just take a look, shop from the seller. Let's see what they have. You know, a couple cards of this, couple cards of that. Just something that they've pulled whenever they cracked open a box or two, right? You know, nothing too crazy, but this hurts them more if you boycott, because sometimes a lot of them do need this as their living, and boycotting stuff really hurts even just the small mom and pops. Yes, this should also hurt scalpers, to be honest with you, that want to sell these things at a high, ridiculous prices online. If you guys don't buy from TCG Player, guess what happens? The scalpers don't really get some money kickback out of this deal. So they kind of lose out on this if you do that. So maybe, let's be honest, instead of buying your sealed product online from these big stores, and maybe you might want to call the local LGSs around the area and go like, hey, can you ship me boxes? We can work out something better. You know, send me your PayPal, we can work out a deal. Boom, you get the product, right? that could be the underlying solution and how to fix that issue very comfortably. And I think at the end of the day, we might go down that path for a while if, you know, eBay starts being a jerkwad still. I don't think cutting out TCGplayer is the way to go. I think a lot of people need that, but if you guys really need to find stuff, you know, you do have access to core TCG. They usually have some decent singles. Like if we go and see singles, I don't like the big boys, but they do have some singles at time. They are a little more pricier, so be ready for paying that at time to time, because it's not. And same thing with Ideal 808. They're gonna be quite a little bit of expensive, but if you're in Canada, or you're willing to wait it out a little bit more, you could easily like they have, there we go, rude as heck, there we go, they do host singles as well. You know, you can snag up stuff from, you know, BT21, and they're reasonable price. Like you can expect like rares to be 25. They're going to be a little more expensive, but they will ship, and they usually have more quantities than, you know, if you don't really want to give to Ideal 808 or Core TCG, which are big names that are always milking players for money. Red Riot Games, if you guys can patiently wait, they are Canadian based, so it's going to be coming from Canada to you, and that is a possibility as well. So I think for you guys, this might be some beneficial that way. But another route that you can take is literally going for none other than Facebook marketplaces. Let's go, like, there are marketplaces for Digimon. See, English, buy, sell, trade. This is a quick one. Boom. You can list your stuff, put a timestamp, and sell it. It sees so many eyes. People are willing to pay for things. You know, you get like Trubimon Aces up here. You might need Gravity Crushes. You might need Ignitemon. There's just so many possibilities that you have access to. You know, this is where most of the people will probably be heading to, is like the Facebook marketplaces, specifically designed. You know, you get like 6,000 eyes very comfortably, but you know, you can take a look and just go from there. You know, I think market, you know, TCG, this one, trading card world, it's all has possibilities on the end results on how you want to handle it. But I think you have some good value chances. And again, like if you need to load up bulk, make a spreadsheet, make an Excel spreadsheet, go like, this is what I have for bulk, this is the prices. You know, if you need a bunch of cards, let me know. That might be your way of doing it until you can either design your own shop, then just go like, hey, if you need cards, this is where I go. This is what we do. Again, eventually, if everybody kind of does this, eventually TCG becomes obsolete, right? And again, let's be honest, the fees on TCGplayer are astronomical, right? It does cost you an arm and a leg for a lot of your stuff. But I just want you guys to be mentally prepared, willing to be informed, because I hate for you guys to kind of just be left high and dry when, you know, push comes to shove. Like if you want to support TCG and Boycott, you do you. But if you really need your cards, don't be afraid to spend at TCGplayer. You know, sales diminishing really does reflect them, and it can affect them on their bottom line. The longer it goes on, the more bottom line it'll hurt both sides. Boycotting a TCG store does hurt like the smaller shops that need this as their extra income. I do some selling on TCGplayer, but I have to see what I can do to kind of just alleviate that now. But all in all, guys, though, You do you. You do what needs to be done. I'll still survive. But guys, hopefully you enjoyed the video. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.